みんなを守らなくては。ぶつける。
Having previously died but got a second chance at life because God felt bad for him, is our protagonist Hikaru. After he died, he decided to start a Minecraft world and bring in lots of cute girls who needed shelter. Now, after establishing a village of girls at his disposal, he wonders what he should do next. Episode 7. Now, with the Great Tree Village founded, Karu decides to stick to his day-to-day antics until his alarm is sounded. He receives an invoice from the Demon King asking to speak with him shortly. The man introduces himself as Beezle, a representative from the Demon King. He presents an expensive bottle to Hikaru and asks him to settle his dispute with the land. Hikaru remembers that the Demon King owns this area, so he wonders if he will have to pay taxes. He tells Beezle that he would be open to paying taxes with crops if needed. Once he tells the man he will give 10% of their crops, Beezle accepts his proposal. Following this, they sign an agreement to finalize the decision to satisfy the Demon King. Once Beezle inspects this, agrees with the terms and leaves with a small gift. Lu then tells Hikaru that he made a good deal, them practically being under the Demon King's protection. She also explains that usually the tax rate is 40–60%, so he cut out a really good deal. Beezle, on the other hand, is surprised to get them under his command, thinking he would have to back down to them when he arrived. Tells the others he is unsure they can even tax the others. Explains all of the various people under Hikaru's command, whether it's the elves or the angels, they are all strong. Beezle explains that he knows it's risky to take them under his command, but they must try and finesse them. To their surprise, however, once they inspect the gift, its fruit. One of the commanders takes a bite of the apple and is stunned to see how tasty it is. Beezle then sees the cloth around the fruit as a top-level cloth. Hikaru, on the other hand, is approached by the leader of the dragons, Drime hoping to establish peace. They present him with a gift, hoping to make their alliance stronger. Following this, Drime's assistant informs Hikaru that they live not too far away, so they are basically neighbors. He explains that they would like to be friends with them being so close. Drime then changes into his human form to properly introduce himself to Hikaru. Once they get acquainted, Drime gets a little too comfortable, telling his assistant he wants to live here forever. His assistant then urges him to leave their place, thinking they are intruding too much. Drime then heads home, and this makes Hikaru think of building more buildings to accommodate guests. He proposes this idea to the elves. They inform him that it's a good idea. With their servants only being diplomatic people so far, they think it would be better to build the size for a small group of 30. Their plan in motion, they started building the guest house together. Though this looks good, Hikaru also wants to improve welcoming guests to his area. He tells the angels and lizardmen to treat visitors with more respect rather than violence, then establishes a new bell to help change who is a guest and who is an intruder. They then establish a welcoming party to help bring in visitors and make the pre-existing people more comfortable. With all this preparation, people started to arrive at the village with intentions of seeing what's up. First, they get some beast people who ask to establish friendly greetings. Before we continue, let's take a moment to answer the question of the day. If you had this whole village established, would you continue letting people in? Comment down below for a chance to be shouted out in the next video. Now, back to the recap. Before Lu accepts his group, however, she asks what the people hiding in the bushes are doing. With the beastmen exposed, she asks them what they are scheming to do, promises not to try and fight back again, so they are accepted into the village. They guide them into the guest house, but once they are inside, lock the doors. Tia informs Hikaru that if they really wanted to establish friendly relations, they would have brought a gift. Also, with the people hiding in the bushes, they made their initial impression even worse. Despite this, however, Hikaru still treated them with respect, even going as far to cook dinner. While he does, one of the maids emerges and asks Hikaru why he is being so friendly to people that bring nothing to the table. He thinks about this and wonders if he should really offer anything to these random people. Although they are treating them well, they have established a 2 drinks per person rule, making sure they are sober enough to talk with them. Hikaru then goes and talks with one of the beastmen, who informs him they have around 100 people in total. With their clan being around for 1,000 years, they have strived in the mountains. However, with them being in the mountains, trade has always been hard. They have come to establish trade with the Great Tree Village. Tia, on the other hand, uses her beauty to get information out of the beastmen. With each person doing their part, Hikaru becomes satisfied with the information regarding their clan. He decides to establish an alliance. He is unsure what currency to use for trade. The Beastman then asks Hikaru to handle trading as well, bringing them the materials. He asks for crops in return for their metalworks and utilities. With this relationship, the Howling Village and the Great Tree Village become official allies. Although they are on equal terms, Hikaru expresses that he is the boss in the relationship. Following this, Drime comes and helps transport the goods for them in exchange for letting him stay in the village from time to time. The Howling Village, on the other hand, wonder if they will ever even receive a package from the Great Tree Village. Then suddenly a dragon emerges and stuns them, making trading super easy. Though they were hesitant at first when Tia offered free samples, they sold all the goods. In addition to this, some of the beast people asked if they could stay in the village with Hikaru. Not only are there 20 more workers, but they are all women. Hikaru realizes that his harem is already too big, so he asks for them to send 2 young men as well. Then later that week, beast people arrive, thank Hikaru for accepting them into the village. Tells them they can use whatever they need within the village as long as they do their part. He then asks where the men he asked for, but to his surprise, they are all children. Episode 8. Despite their hospitality, the beast women assumed they would be treated terribly by Hikaru, but they have since adapted to the village. Later that day, the beast women also use magic, making Hikaru wonder if he is the only one who can't use magic. With everyone having their own special magic ability, Hikaru wonders what his magic is. Children run to his side and ask him to practice with them. He gets embarrassed and goes to farm some crops, but he is interrupted by a large explosion. An angel runs to his side, informing him the 2 kings of the forest are fighting nearby. Hikaru wonders what to do. After learning he can eat them, he heads out to fight. Angel guides him to the location where the 2 animals are fighting relentlessly. They notice his charge and stop their tracks, but are unable to do anything to Hikaru's attack. Angels wonder how the mayor got so strong from just farming all the time. Brings the beasts back and starts cooking them into a new meal. Combining the wine with the meat, he creates a new dish that is delicious. He then uses the snake to make a fried chicken-like taste, which is also very tasty. Following this, he goes around looking for certain minerals in order to make better GMOs for his crops. He presents a few different bottles he can use, eventually getting the right one. Asks her how the miso soup is coming along, but she has yet to figure out its taste. He then offers to cook it for her one more time so she has a better idea of how it's made. He starts with getting eggs, then stirring them up to make a batter. After this, puts soybeans into a pot, grinds them up, making real fine grain. This, he packs it down, bringing out the liquid, and after a few months, it will be ready for tasting. While he talks, more visitors arrive this time. It appears to be dwarfs. They ask about the alcohol, wondering if they are the ones making the good stuff. Hikaru offers to give it to them for free, but they offer instead to give him some of their technology. The dwarf elder offers to teach him one of their old techniques for creating a strong liquor. After he finishes making it, he decides that this is definitely a good payment for their wine. Following this, he holds a party to celebrate their new relationship with the dwarfs. Among the guests is Drime, who seems to have snuck past the 2-drink-per-person rule. Hikaru then offers the dwarf chief some wine, hoping to establish a close bond to him. He then asks him which girl he likes the most, hoping to offer him one. The dwarf elder then tells him that he only prefers women with beards, none of his girls being to his standards. Later that week, the alarm sounds for a different dragon headed towards the village. Hikaru prepares his spear to take it down, but Drime comes to the rescue, knocking it to the side. Then another dragon appears, causing Hikaru to take action, throwing his spear. He misses the initial spear, but gets ready to strike again with quick notice. When he does, Drime's assistant runs to his side and tells him to stand down, explains that they are Drime's family who came to retrieve him. With Drime sneaking out to drink at his place, they ask him why he always comes to this village. Drime tries to explain it as diplomatic relations, but the girls don't buy it. They suspect him of an affair, so Drime fesses up and tells them he is just getting drunk here. After he confesses, they accept his apology and apologize to Hikaru for causing concern in the village. After this, Drime tells his family that they need to act nicely to the village for witnessing the mayor's attack. Drime's wife explains that if the spider of the village hadn't saved her, then Hiruka would have killed her. With this, she decides to ask her daughter to stay at the village for good, keep their close relationship. Of course, when she tells Hikaru, he accepts her request to join the village. She introduces herself as Lastly and asks how she can get started doing her part around the village. She tries, but ends up breaking everything around her, making her pretty useless. Eventually gives up on working and plays around with the kids of the village. Hikaru witnesses this, so he talks with Tia about what they should do with her. He thinks about what to do, but eventually decides to make her a diplomatic leader. Her being of the dragon race, she scares any visitor that comes to greet them. Following this, when Beazle comes to collect the taxes, is unable to deny Lasty's request of shortening the amount of goods they hand over. Once Beazle finishes this encounter, he tells the other generals of the Demon King's army, who are outraged. They wonder how a village can even contract dragons, so he takes a different approach. Beazle orders his daughter to go and investigate the village as a spy, hoping to see what's really going on inside of it. When she arrives at the village, wonders why such a normal village is filled with such dangerous creatures. As she enters, she is guided around by the dragon, Lasty, making her scared from the start. She looks around the different farms and sees the different crops, making her wonder what she needs to investigate. Then suddenly Lasty is called elsewhere, leaving her with time to investigate independently. She starts with just seeing what kinds of races stay within the village. She then moves on to looking at the different armies, which eventually makes her realize they stand no chance against them in war. Vampires, angels, high elves, and monsters, loses all confidence. She then wonders who is at the top of such an organization, commands such powerful troops. Following this, Hikaru emerges. She plays him off as some normal random. Once she gets back inside, she realizes that he is the mighty mayor she has been looking for. Hikaru, on the other hand, wonders what she is up to. Seeing her come and work day in and out. Despite staying here for a bit, she acts super weird to Hikaru, making him wonder what her deal is. Episode 9. Later that week, he goes to inspect some slimes only to find that they have all changed, with some hanging in the water and others drinking the wine. It seems like they are becoming an infestation. With one of the slimes drinking all of the wine, they decide to punish it for being so greedy. They wonder how to punish the slime, practically being one of the villagers with how much it's around. Time went on, it eventually hit summertime, making it more difficult to farm certain crops. Despite this, he still makes it work, getting enough vegetables for all the people to eat. Today, they eat mushrooms sautéed, which leads to Hikaru talking about seafood. He asks them if they are able to find the ocean nearby, wondering if they have seafood. The girls think about their experiences and eventually learn that there is a seafood place in the Demon King's area. With their location determined, the girls start working towards finding the seafood for the new dishes. Hikaru wonders if they will ever invite him to go along, but his time gets filled with meeting various people. A few days after they leave, they arrive back with a merchant who presents loads of food from the sea. Whether it's fish, crabs, or even seaweed, the merchant is able to get it. He informs Hikaru that he has 3 goals he wants to achieve by coming here. Firstly, he wants to be friends. Next, establish trade. Third, he wants to be the official merchant for the village. He tells them that he is a skilled merchant that can get the best deals and new ingredients for them to cultivate. Lu informs him that there is a lot of demand for their products, so she asks what he can offer that they cannot. He shows them a list of various goods he can acquire, and this gains his trust with the village. After this, he heads out, which makes Hikaru realize how much of a win they have with acquiring the merchant. Hikaru wonders how the future of his village will go, while the merchant tells us it's sure to succeed. He thinks about how scary his encounter was with them, witnessing all the various monsters. He explains how crazy his encounter was, starting with introducing himself as Michael, the head merchant in his current city. He's informed that someone has come to meet him. He denies their request. Eventually, he realizes that they must be from the Great Tree Village, so he lets them in without hesitation. Once he lets the visitors inside, he's surprised to see the guests that have arrived. The girl in the center being a Demon King general's daughter, the girl on the side being a dragon, wonders if he can handle their demands. They then present some gifts for him, hoping to win his trust in trade. As he inspects the goods, finds how perfect the fruit before him is, so he trades with them immediately. He tells the 3 that they are always welcome in his land, asking them to bring more stuff again. With him riding atop Lasty and being introduced to the various experts in the village, he thinks the mayor is the only normal one. Despite this all, he realizes it is the best deal of his life, making him wonder why he is so unsure of the trade. Hikaru, on the other hand, uses the food acquired from him to make some real seafood. Suddenly, one day, the alarm is sounded informing him that a visitor has appeared. This time, it is another dragon, making him wonder why he gets so many guests. Then suddenly, the dragon strikes a nearby house, forcing Hikaru to strike first. He pierces its wing with ease and goes to see what they are doing. The dragon tells her that she has no reason for her actions, asking for him to forgive her. Following this, Drime emerges and introduces her as Hakuren, his older sister. She asks Drime why he gave his sister off to someone without introducing her first. Because of this, she decided to come and see what all the commotion was about. Drime informs him that she is likely here to vent to him, her not being able to find a husband despite being 900 years older than Lasty. After hearing all of this, Hariku makes her get to work and repair her damages. Following this, she starts hanging out in the village, eventually getting adapted to it. Hakuren then asks about the game they have in the village. Hearing about it from Drime, tries to explain the rules of the game. She tells him she will be fine, then asks what he will be betting, wanting to make the game more intense. Hikaru thinks about what to gamble with, but decides that the loser has to do the walk of shame. They all accept this challenge and get hyped up, hoping to see the mayor defeated. As they play, Hikaru wonders how they just know how to play the game without explaining. With each of them being super competitive, it beats one of them. He ends up being the only one to lose pieces until he is eventually forced all the way to his underwear. Thinks of how to win, but eventually it's a rotten hand, causing him to play the wrong move. He loses another move, forcing him to take his pants off before the girls. Once he does, they all erupt in joy, while Beezle handles more important matters. He talks with the Demon King and wonders how they will be able to take down the village. One of the generals offers to move the army now, but the rest cower down in fear. During this, Harukin shows various villagers different methods to help make life more leisurely. Though she isn't useful at most things like Lasti, she gets along well with others, making her a good teacher. Later that week, mermaids arrive at his village and beg for them to spare them. They inform Hikaru that the wolves invaded their home and forced them to come seek protection. Once he sees how cute they all are, he accepts their request and lets them stay in the village. He accepts them, but with one condition, putting some clothes on to cover up. See, Hikaru is a very distinguished man with plenty of women. He doesn't want them just walking around naked. While this happens, more girls from the Demon King's palace are sent to investigate the Great Tree Village. Episode 10. Despite what they think, Floweren is perfectly fine within the Great Tree Village, busy with work. Father pays her a visit to inform her of what's going on, hoping to give her notice that the Demon King's daughters are arriving soon. With them planning on attacking the village, this causes concern for Floweren, having informed them how strong the village is. Beezle tells her that despite this, they still insist on attacking, starting to move tomorrow. Floweren thinks of what would happen if they were attacked, which makes her realize they will lose their palace if the Great Tree Village wishes. While this happens, the mermaids discover the army sent to stop them. They easily overpower them and guide the daughters into the village where they are unsure what to do now. Hikaru tells them Floweren that they have already admitted defeat. He is unsure what to do with them. She offers to take care of them, but is unable to pass punishment on the older girl, Yuri. With her being the Demon King's wife, Floweren asks her to treat her nicely. After Hikaru leaves the girls into Floweren's hands, she gets straight to work. She informs the girls that they need to do honest work if they want to make a keep around here. Following this, she gives them a guide of the village, showing off all the technological advancements. While they do their tour, she is approached by various people showing the strength of the village. With so many strong people around, they think how safe they are in the village. The girls talk about taking over the village, telling each other it would be a big profit maker. Following this, Floweren takes them to meet with the dragon, helping remind them not to act out of place. Next few days, they try to escape the village, but are put back by the various monsters wandering around. With every day comes a new surprise for Yuri. Seeing all of the various creatures within the village, she tries to play with the wolf, but is taken aback by how advanced the village really is. She tells Floweren that she only thought of war rather than trying to make friendly arrangements. She tells Floweren that she thought all the information received from her was just fake news to scare them. She tells Floweren that she thought she was being blackmailed or something. Floweren apologizes to her, informing her she will keep her in the loop of her life from now on. They then head inside for the night, where they get to enjoy the fabulous foods they work so hard on. With a peaceful life, the girls seem to have adapted to their daily lives, putting Hikaru at ease. Later that week, Yuri builds up the courage to help the others with farm work, making everyone stunned. Once she joins in, she invites the other girls to come help her, making the day a fun farming adventure. Over time, their stay is eventually over, so Yuri apologizes to the kids for having to leave on such short notice. They offer her some treats before she leaves. Floweren tells her she will visit her sometime. Yuri then asks the other girls who came with her if they are coming. Tell her they still have research to do. When she gets back to the palace, she acts a bit different, making the Demon King wonder if they are doing something wrong. He tells Beezle that he feels as if her stay in the Great Tree Village turned her into an adult. He wonders if she met a man inside the village, so he thinks about going to meet who it could be. Shortly after this, the village started doing their annual mass harvest before winter comes. With a ton of goods, they seem to have more than enough for the winter. As of their excess of food, they offer to give some of the extras away. He decides to give some of their food to the other dragons in the world, hoping to establish good relations with them. Thanks to their connections, it was easy to deliver some food to their various clients. After Harukin went on her adventure to deliver food to her family, she met new people. They ended up hearing about the village and came to ask and live inside it. They explain a sad story like most of the people, struggling to make ends meet. Despite having accepted everyone without much trouble before he has to think of whether he can accommodate them, he realizes they need to build a new house for them, so he asks them to sleep on the ground in the meantime. Their addition, it added in a new variety of meats, despite their terrible trap-setting skills. Hikaru tells her that she doesn't need to put herself through so much to get a little bit of food. He then shows her what he's working on, revealing a pot made with clay. When he goes to shape it, it crumbles, making him ask her if she knows where clay is. Coincidentally, she is an expert at finding clay, so she presents him with a large variety of clay to use. Following this, Hikaru is informed that nearby a dungeon was found, tells his people to explore it, but be careful when getting too deep inside of it. Once he finishes this, he realizes everything is done for the day, so he jumps into the bath. While he washes up outside, there are various girls trying to enter the bathhouse to get closer to the mayor. Floweren, however, catches them and reminds them that they are basically slaves in the village. A few days after this, the dungeon exploration team comes back and informs Hikaru they need to farm it as soon as possible. With a special type of snake blood being found within it, they talk about how much profit they can make by taking it down. He decides to wait until next year to take down the base leading up until it's almost winter. Goes to talk with his girls and finds Lou sick in bed with a bad illness. Tells the others that she has had special cravings lately, which leads to the others realizing what's going on. They explain to her and Hikaru that usually this is an indicator that she is pregnant. Episode 11. Hikaru, on the other hand, spends his days the same as usual despite her baby. He eventually goes to comfort her, asking if she is feeling all right lately. Despite this, she was the most at ease person among everyone in the village. After this, he continues his usual schedule, helping cook and clean around the village. Hikaru feels bad for doing as much as he does, maids forcing themselves to always be up when he is. He talks about the different tasks to attend to today. It starts with cooking breakfast. By teaching the maids how to cook, he has composed a menu of different items and meals. While he eats, Flora makes a big deal out of her trouble in creating the perfect miso soup. Recently, a garden pest has been invading his crops, making it harder for him to farm all the time. With his super farming skills, however, he is able to still develop the crops and make enough food for all of the village. After his farming, he eats lunch with whatever girl he wants in the village. Originally, the girls are hesitant to even eat breakfast. He has spoiled them into eating 3 meals a day. Hikaru has made the village's food situation his top priority, ensuring everyone has enough to eat. He is then informed the cows they received as a gift of breeding, meaning it's time to harvest them. Following this, he starts farming a new thing, hoping to add some flavor to the village: flowers. Once he successfully cultivated these, he moved on to the rest of his daily tasks. He explains that he oversees various mana training between the tribes to hopefully one day learn magic himself. After watching them for a bite, he tries to perform it himself, but he looks weaker than everyone else. With him not being able to wield anything but his spear, he wonders what the real source of his power is. Later that night, he then eats dinner with Lou, where the maids present him with a new dish. By not wasting any of the food, it turns out a little different, but it's good enough for him, and receives a letter from Yuri, asking him for apples and clothes made by the spider. Floweren apologizes for her demands, but Hikaru tells her it's okay, them living in abundance. To finish off the night, he takes a bath in his personal bathhouse. Once he arrives home, he becomes uneasy. Once he enters his room, he feels like eyes are constantly watching over him. As soon as he calls for help, trapdoors appear around him, revealing he is indeed being watched. Despite this, he is happy, knowing he has cute girls worrying about him all the time. He falls asleep thinking about how good his life is, unknowing to what is soon to come. Next morning, he talks with the dwarfs who are always drunk, with them spending every day drinking and making more alcohol. He wonders if they are a good investment. Despite this, however, the occasional shots they give him is enough for him to keep them around. They explain to him that although it's good right now, they're still trying to develop better flavors. He asks if they can increase the amount of grapes they harvest so that they can produce more alcohol. After hearing this, Hikaru heads to the grape forest, but is stopped when he learns a strange man has entered the village. Bowing down before the statues he originally created, they wonder what his deal is. Lou then emerges and informs the others that he is the head vampire, aka the progenitor. They then head inside the main building where Lou informs him that he is basically their grandfather. With him being over 4,000 years old, Karu is stunned to learn of his new family additions. Although he is this old, he erases his ability every few hundred years to reset his life and give him a new vibe. He explains that his real reason for coming here is because of the statues before the tree. He tells them that he has met God once before, and when he saw the statues, he instantly bowed down. He informs the others that despite meeting him, he's long forgotten what he looks like. Because of this, when he saw the statue, he had to instantly recognize Hikaru's abilities. Hikaru realizes that he wants the statue for himself. He rejects his request. Instead of giving him the pre-existing statue, Hikaru offers to make him a new statue to take. Once he completes it, he bows down to it and heads out after getting what he came for. Before he leaves, he tells Lou and Flora to stay safe, keep close to Hikaru. With that, he leaves as suddenly as he had arrived. After he leaves, he realizes just how important this vampire really was once Lou explains his role to him. With the progenitor being well known throughout various businesses, when he gets the statue, he's able to instantly have a temple for it. He tells the leader of the temple that this statue is an even better one than their previous one. The priest asks who made the statue, hoping to enlist him for future work. But the progenitor informs him it was just some random guy. He tells the priest if he wants to make statues, then he needs to be friendly and treat him with respect. Following this, Karu reveals that as a gift, the progenitor gifted them a piano to play. After getting this, the various people around the village noticed how rich you must be to have a piano. They consider playing the piano themselves, thinking this is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. Despite it being right in front of them, the girls are unsure if they have the right to touch such a magnificent thing. Following this, he buys another one for them to play on, leading to it being a huge success. Although everyone likes it, it makes it hard for Hikaru to sleep at night. Episode 12. As time went on, he eventually was able to cultivate the long-awaited eggplants. With these, he calls everyone in for lunch while he finishes up his work. Following this, Lou calls him over and urges him to take a break already. He tells her that when he is around the crops, he just can't help himself. He asks her if she is feeling well recently with the baby soon to be arriving. Lou explains that other than the strong cravings, everything has been going smoothly. Hikaru wonders what it's like to have a baby in the stomach after seeing hers. Lou explains it like having a big piece of cabbage within her body. They then wonder what gender the child will be, some hoping for a boy while others want a girl. She explains to them that the main struggle of being pregnant is never being able to drink alcohol. Once they all learn of her situation, they decide to approach Hikaru, asking him to sell all of their alcohol so Lou's child doesn't get harmed. He tells them he can sell some of it, but it would be best to just age it rather than giving it all away. After learning this, the dwarfs wonder if they did something wrong to deserve such punishment. Hikaru explains the situation to them, and they lose their discomfort, thinking it will be better if the girls don't drink. While this happens, everyone enjoys their day-to-day life leading up to Lou's fateful day. Hikaru knows it's coming soon, so he makes sure to give her lots of comfort during the day. With Tia providing flowers as well, Lou has been able to make it through her pregnancy easily. Following this, various people come to give Lou a present as an offering. With her carrying the mayor's child, they know the child will wield incredible power. Even the lizard man came to offer his blood for Lou to drink despite his hard skin. Upon receiving all of these gifts, the two of them sit together and talk about their future as parents. Lou expresses that she feels like she is ready, so they get to work. By doing all the necessary preparations and working hard into the night, Hikaru's first child is about to be born. While this happens, he goes to pray to the statues he originally made, knowing it's thanks to God he is here. Following morning, thankfully, he is welcomed to see a newborn baby before him. At first, he is hesitant to hold his baby, having never done so before, but he works up the courage. With it being a male, he is happy to know that he has a potential farm worker in his hands. After playing with the baby, he starts to smile at Hikaru, making him excited. He realizes how much he has changed compared to his previous world, even becoming a father. Lou then tells him that together they will make his baby a strong farmer capable of cultivating the entire earth. He decided to name his child Alfred, him being half vampire and half human. Despite this, he still works in the farm, admiring all of his progress he has made since settling into this area. Having achieved creating not only his own village but also family, he wonders what to do next. First, he decides to call all the best-looking girls for a meeting. He presents a small medal before them and introduces it as his village's currency, where it can be used to buy various things. He explains that by taking control of everything, he has been getting bombarded with requests for various items. By establishing a currency among each other, they are able to trade food for fair amounts. Although it will be their currency, he decides to start by introducing it a reward system rather than needed money. With some people using their currency for wine and others for weapons, it turned out to be a huge success. After the success of this currency, he introduced more furniture for the rooms to provide an increase in demand for the metals. Eventually, one of the girls approached Hiruka, asking to give her a baby in exchange for a medal. Over time, Hikaru started throwing more parties for everyone, with their economy thriving. With everyone living their best life thanks to Hiruka, he seems to have achieved everything he could possibly want. After the birth of his son, the Demon King's generals talked about marrying off the princess to win over their trust. Michael, the merchant, on the other hand, continued taking care of the Great Tree's trading, even introducing the currency into the towns. Hikaru eventually realizes how great his life is, being surrounded by women and having children running all over the place.